It's the Friday News Roundup. We're talking about how the first wave of SEPTA service cuts is just days away. How is Philly getting around? Plus, Philly public schools head back to class. And is McGlinchey's closing or not? It's Friday, August 22nd. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Joining me this week at the Fiddler Club is CityCast Philly producer Abby Fritz. Hey, Abby.
Good morning, Trenae.
Good morning. I don't know about the mornings, though, Abby, because they're essentially going to get upended with the severe SEPTA service cuts. The first slate of cuts is expected to happen on Sunday. If you are using SEPTA, they say simply go to our website, use the app to plan your trip.
Yeah, I was just looking at the website the other day, and it's actually really helpful. One of the lines my partner uses all the time, their service is getting cut, and it really helps them figure out like their alternatives for getting where they need to go. But even today, coming to the Fiddler, I woke up like 35 minutes earlier than I usually do just to make sure I didn't miss my bus. Just getting ready for the cuts to be into effect, get in the swing of expecting, things to take a little longer.
Absolutely. I took Kelly Drive here. And so along with like the construction that happens, right? Because like summertime, that's when everyone wants to do a construction project. Yeah. Traffic did flow, but I am like so worried about Monday.
Yeah, we'll see once these cuts are in effect, if it's still traffic flowing on the way into work.
Right. Now, there's a bunch of different ways you can still get around the city if you don't have access to SEPTA. Driving, walking, taking a bike, using the Indigo bike share program, and taxis and rideshare like Ubers and Lyfts. Although I'm curious to see if rides are going to be more expensive.
Yeah.
Because the demand might be more.
Increase.
Right.
And there's still cars. They still got to be on the road and in the traffic.
Absolutely.
If there's more, yeah.
I am so concerned about school children that rely on it. And because service is getting reduced and routes are getting cut, does that mean that kids have to wake up earlier and find a ride or, catch a ride with their parents? Or, I'm sure even for some families, there is no car in the house. So getting around carpooling even. And then that's just, trying to get to your destination. We didn't even talk about September 1st when the fares also increase.
Yeah.
And that is going to have people's like transportation budgets even squeezed even tighter. For folks who this might be your first time listening to us, hey, just to catch you up, we are going through a transportation crisis right now. The Pennsylvania state budget has been delayed for nearly 2 months, and money that goes to local government, school districts, nonprofits, and in this case, goes to nonprofits and SEPTA, among other transportation agencies in the Commonwealth. That money is waiting. It is delayed because our lawmakers in Harrisburg have not come to a compromise on a budget that they can pass. And because of that, SEPTA is waiting for more than $200 million. And do you remember, like, in the weeks that we've been talking about this, Abby, SEPTA said, like, it needed, like, 10 days. Like, even if the state did come through, they would need 10 days to kind of, like, rework the system, shift things around. But at this point, on Friday, it doesn't really look like that's the case. Back on August 14th, that was a deadline that said there was like, we need to know like by today if, we're getting these funds so that we won't have to do the cuts. But that came and went, and Harrisburg did not reach a deal. So here we are.
Yeah, I get it. SEPTA basically said we have to be realistic. We have to make a budget that will work for us. And if it's months late at this point. They have to assume it's not coming.
Mm-hmm.
So here we are, no budget. SEPTA cuts are here. And I think everybody just has to move forward with assuming that this is the new norm until we hear from Harrisburg something different.
So much of the lives of Philadelphians are going to be impacted. But let's talk about even in the counties, in other regions of the state. Let's talk about Amtrak. Amtrak is a part of this conversation too, because we do so much intercity travel all the way from Boston, New York, all the way down to Wilmington, Delaware, and DC, and even to Harrisburg.
Yeah.
I saw this in Spotlight, PA. I saw reporting in the Inquirer. Amtrak says because SEPTA's funding has been delayed, that is going to hold up and possibly impact lines that they use to commute people. And we're talking, Amtrak said that around $71.1 million could be lost in annual payments from this relationship between SEPTA and Amtrak.
Oh my God.
And I'm still trying to figure out, how is it that lawmakers cannot come to a compromise, right? Mm-hmm. It's just so profound that at this point, lawmakers in the Commonwealth cannot come up with an agreement about funding, not just SEPTA, but funding for other areas in the Commonwealth. Like the budget is so important, right?
They spend money on everything. So it's not just SEPTA, yeah.
Right. Now, I will say that there has been criticism in these past weeks of how much Mayor Sherrell Parker has said or not said about the issue, and even the leadership of Governor Josh Shapiro, to really rally lawmakers across the aisle to get a compromise. But I did read a report this week in the Inquirer that said, quote, Parker said she is in constant communication with Republicans and Democrats in Harrisburg and remains optimistic that they will reach a state budget deal. The question, though, is when?
Yeah,
right?
That's what we care about.
Parker said later in their interview, she told the Inquirer, I have the confidence in our governor, in our legislative leaders, and even in the Republican leadership that we will find a way to get it done. She continues to say, I've been a supporter and an advocate in a meaningful way for mass transit in the city of Philadelphia and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania long before it was a popular thing to do.
It's nice to hear from her. I do think, like, in times like this, cities look to their leaders. And I think maybe some of the initial criticism was like, we're like, oh my God, what's going on? And we'd love to see like our mayor making a strong stance. So it's nice to hear that she's saying she's in contact and doing her best.
Right. Abby, I do agree with you. However, my take is that this is really a Harrisburg delay, right? They still haven't come to a compromise. Like, people can, be so vocal, about the needs of their community. But at the end of the day, what are we going to do? Continue weeks and weeks without a passed budget to figure out how things are going to work and operate? We're just going to watch it fall apart, which essentially is what is happening with transportation.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right, Trenae. I think some people have spotted that this maybe isn't a Mayor Parker issue, and so they've started protesting at some of the people who work in Harrisburg in the area. There was a rally outside Joe Pittman's Indiana offices, and people are, throwing out the phone numbers of those that work in Harrisburg to say, call them. Tell them that they need a budget, they need to include SEPTA or whatever you want to see in the budget. Call them and let them know. We're going to be doing a deep dive on Monday all about SEPTA and how we got here, the history. Has it always been this way? Has it always been hard to get funding for SEPTA? So definitely tune in on Monday to hear everything you could ever want to know about that.
Yeah. Abby, what's also interesting about this too is that people are going to remember this moment. We got elections coming up next year, right? That's the midterms and also the governor's race. Like,
Yeah.
I understand, like, be kind of like a tough guy in negotiations, but that's like not going to help anyone. It's not going to help your cause, I feel like, and it's not going to help just the greater good, because this isn't like we're debating on what's like what should we eat for dinner. No, we're like, this is people's livelihoods, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
so many people are impacted. And even if you don't take SEPTA, right? Because that's another argument. Oh, well, we don't take SEPTA, it doesn't impact us. Well, it's going to impact the economy of the Commonwealth, which we will discuss on Monday. But yes, let's get to what voters are going to be looking at, and that is the governor's race next year.
Yeah, State Treasurer Stacey Garrity announced on Monday that she's going to be running for governor of Pennsylvania against Governor Josh Shapiro in 2026. So he's got a challenger on the table so far.
So who is she?
Yeah, so she's from Pennsylvania, out in Bradford County, which is like along the northern border of New York. This is her second term as state treasurer, and before she was elected to the position, she didn't really have like a robust political career. She was a U.S. Army colonel, and she served 3 deployments throughout her time with the Army. And then when she was in the reserves, she kind of pivoted to business. Then she was elected in 2020 for her first term as state treasurer, and then again in 2024 for another 4-year term. In terms of her like political leanings, she's a Republican and she's fiscally conservative. And she's publicly stated that she's anti-abortion and is a vocal supporter of President Donald Trump. So she still needs to grab the GOP nomination. It's not like she's going to be on the ticket against Governor Josh Shapiro. But right now, no other Republicans have announced a run for governor. We might see State Senator Doug Mastriano, who ran against Shapiro back in 2022 and lost. Some say he might make a bid again, but it seems like people are not super keen on that idea. But back to Garrity. If she's elected, she would be Pennsylvania's first female governor. Like I said, she hasn't been in politics long, but her 2020 run was kind of a long shot, and her opponent outspent her like 11-1, and she still won. So it seems like she has some sort of magnetism and attention within the GOP and within the Republican Party that like she could be a contender. And it's also pretty widely known that Governor Josh Shapiro has his eyes on the White House. And since he wouldn't have to resign from an elected position to run for the presidency. So if he makes a bid, let's say in 2028, he could still run for governor in 2026 and then resign if he received the presidency. So I have a feeling he'll probably run again for governor, but you never know. So we'll keep an eye on state politics in the coming months.
We've got more news after the break. If you're looking for more ways to enjoy Philly this summer, check out the Independent Seaport Museum and Homebrewed events for the first ever Drink the Delaware Festival. The festivities kick off on Sunday, September 7th from 4 to 9 p.m. Enjoy samples of local beer, ciders, and spirits, and learn how water is used in the process of making these drinks. Because regardless of what's in your glass, we can all cheer for the people keeping our region's waterways clean. This event is for those 21 and up. Tickets start at $50 per person and are going fast. Purchase yours at phillyseaport.org/drinkthedelaware. All right, we're going to keep talking about SEPTA because school is back on Monday for Philly public schools. Again, I'm very, very curious to see how families are planning to get around. You could be living in Southwest Philly and you go to Central.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That is clear across several different neighborhoods. And it is going to be a challenge.
Mm-hmm. I think as we've been talking about this too, it's hard because it's like all of the cuts aren't even into effect yet. So it's not like parents this week can be like let's
plan.
go on
Yeah,
this bus.
exactly.
Like, you can't even fully plan your plan B route because effects are hitting at such like a pivotal time in the school year, like right at the beginning of the school year, literally like the day before the first day.
And I'll add the other caveat to this whole education equation is that we're all looking at the August 31st deadline, which is when the teacher's contract ends, and how negotiations are going to go about that.
Yeah, so we might have a teacher strike on top of all of the SEPTA cuts. Oh my God. Well, there is some better news out there with school starting, so maybe we can talk a little bit about that. Kind of palate cleanser from all of this. So, overcrowding in the public school district is an issue. We've talked about in the past with Chalk Beat Philadelphia Bureau Chief Carly Citron that schools are likely going to be closing this year. It's only going to make the overcrowding worse. So one school has come up with a solution. Did you ever take classes in those like trailers or big metal storage units?
I have, not at like a Philly public school, but at my church in West Philly, our church population kept growing. This was like the early 2000s. But yes, I'm familiar with trailers.
Yeah, I also have taken classes when I was in middle school and high school. I've had trailers out in California at public schools. So I thought it was totally fine. I had no issue with them. And the city's zoning board seems to agree. Lincoln High out in the Northeast is going to be adding these trailers, and it's going to allow 900 students to take classes in them. Which is incredible because last year the school enrolled 2,500 people, even though its capacity was 1,700.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
So this will really that takes care of that influx there, and it cost $11 million. So it's going to help them out with that. Some folks weren't super stoked about it. They were saying there's going to be less parking for them. That's, these storage units would take up some parking spaces. But I'm just excited to see solution-oriented thinking within the school districts,
What is the other good news happening in the district?
Yeah, also Frankford High, which is also out in the Northeast, the one. It's like beautiful building, almost looks like a castle. It was built out in 1910. That's so old to me, but it got $30 million redo, which is wonderful. The students are going to enjoy 83 new AC units, new painted walls. Obviously, they took care of all the asbestos and did all the repairs they needed to make sure that's safe. Also, the bathrooms and the cafeteria were redone. So it's like a whole new school.
That's cool.
And students are going to be coming back for the 2025-2026 school year, and they're going to be able to enjoy it. So congrats to anyone who goes to Frankford. I'm really glad that the school district is decided to rehab an old school as opposed to, just tear it down when it had that type of issue. So it's good to see.
And shout out to all the kids going back.
Yes. Good luck.
Thank you. Get out the house. Go back to school.
Yes.
I'm excited. Shifting gears, though, we've been talking about these reopenings, but some bars could be closing, could not be closing. Abby, this whole McGlinchey's story is...
It's making my head hurt.
Yeah, it's confusing, honestly. Okay. So here's the thing. Earlier this week, there was an article from Philly Mag that said that McGlinchey's, which is a bar down in Center City, it's on South 15th Street, would be closing for good. This is a bar that, you can get cheap drinks. You could get hot dogs. You can also smoke inside.
That's the big appeal.
Right.
Yeah, I had so many people that sent this article to me on Sunday, and I just want to say I've been known to frequent when I first moved to Philly, and I have a little joke with my friends. Like, if I text them McGlinchey's hot dog while I'm like out on a date, they'll like do the emergency call. They'll call me and be like, "Oh my God, you have to come right now."
That's the safe word.
My safe word is McGlinchey's hot dog. So I know the place. I know the spot.
Well, So then the story shifts. And before we get into how it shifted, yesterday you may have heard Sheldon Sokol, who is the owner of McGlinchey's, talk on the podcast yesterday. We re-aired our conversation back in 2023. We were talking with Ali Mohsen, who was a former food and drink reporter at Billy Penn, and also Sheldon Sokol, the owner of McGlinchey's, about that interesting kind of exemption that McGlinchey has that allows smoking indoors.
Yeah, because businesses now, because of a law that came out in 2008, you cannot have a bar anymore where you can smoke indoors. So these exemptions, anyone who has them now, those are the last smoking bars that are going to be in the city.
And there are a few, and we named them in the episode.
Yeah.
Okay, but the McGlinchey story takes a turn this week because by Tuesday, the Philadelphia Business Journal reported that Sheldon, the owner, said, no, we're actually not closing permanently.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to go on a vacation. So they're going to close to go on that vacation on Friday, August 29th. But Sheldon did say, I am looking for a buyer.
Yeah, he wants to sell.
Now,
got time to retire.
Right, because it's time to retire. Now, if and when he finds a buyer, that buyer cannot have that smoking exemption. So essentially, it won't be the same thing. It won't be the same McGlinchey's.
Even if they sold it and they kept everything exactly the same, the name, the bar, people who work there, everything, it can't be a smoking bar because the exemption dies when Sheldon leaves the business. So even if it went to a family member, it's, and we talk about that in yesterday's episode.
Okay, now here is the confusing part. I did my journalism work and I was like, let me just call McGlinchey's and just like double, triple check that, are they going to stay open? Like what's the deal? When I called, someone answered the phone. I identified myself. I said who I was. And the worker kind of was like trying to say, like, he was like, hey, I got a busy bar, like kind of get to the point. And I'm like, are you guys closing? And they said, yeah, we're closing permanently. And I'm like, huh?
What?
What is going on? So,
oh my gosh. So we have no idea.
Don't really know.
I mean, we haven't been able to get a hold of Sheldon.
Right.
So maybe we'll have an update if we are able to get a hold of him, but big mixed messages coming out of McGlinchey's.
So still kind of a big question mark if this is the last call for McGlinchey's. But in Thursday's Hey Philly newsletter, Siani Cologne, our newsletter editor, did a write-up about two other bars in the city that are actually closing. Old Kensington's Say No More is closing its doors after only 2 years in the business.
Wow.
And JJ Bootleggers in Old City is also closing after 12 years in the business, but there might be something new coming to that space.
Oh, okay.
You can read more in the Philadelphia Business Journal. And I also want to add this other quick story about a popular sports bar down by the stadiums, Xfinity Live, which a lot of people go to when they may not be able to afford an expensive Eagles game ticket. The Xfinity Live will be changed into Stateside Live, the namesake of Stateside Brands, which we know as the Kensington-based distillery. This space is also going to be expanded, and we can expect that change in 2026. We'll be back after this break. All right, Abby, you got any weekend plans?
Yeah, it's been a little rainy this week, so assuming the weather holds up, I'm going to be volunteering at Bartram's Garden for free boating between 3 and 7. If you've listened to the pod before, you've heard me talk about Bartram's Garden. So
I love that you volunteer there. I think that's so cool.
It's really cool. They have a really cool program, and I'm happy to support it. Come out and try a kayak or a rowboat. I'll get you all set up with everything you need, life vest and everything. And while you're out there, Bartram's Mile Trail, which a portion of it was closed back in 2024, it has reopened. So that closed because there was a chemical contamination found on the trail. It included some chromium chemicals, which is not good stuff, according to the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. there can be very serious risks associated with exposure to chromium hexavalent, which was present there. So they closed the site, and they determined these chemicals were coming from a privately owned former industrial site right next to the trail. You can see it almost from the trail. On Tuesday, Bartram's posted on Instagram that the trail is officially open, and they've done multiple rounds of testing by the city and state government, and they got the go-ahead. It's safe to go. They do just, with an abundance of caution, suggest to kind of stay on the paved surfaces. Don't touch the dirt if you can avoid it. Don't put your hands in it. Avoid skin contact, and wash your hands if you do. So this was big news when it came out about this chemical leak, and it looks like they've really taken their time to get things cleaned up. They've got the go-ahead from the government. So I'm going to check out the trail. I haven't been on it since it closed, and you can too if you want to.
Nice.
Trenae, how about you? What are you doing this weekend?
Oh boy. I will be hosting some pre-teenagers.
Ooh.
My daughter is having a birthday party. It's really hard for the summer birthday kids because it's some people are on vacation still. Then it's so close to back to school season.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you have a birthday near a major holiday, which
Yep.
I think you do, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, I am a December 27th baby, and no one is ever around. It is family birthdays.
Right. So her actual birthday is about a week away, but still we're having a party a little bit ahead of the back to school shuffle. But I'll be doing that. Doing the mom stuff.
Happy birthday, Yaya. Have a good time.
But before we go and get into the weekend, definitely check out our Hey Philly newsletter for a list of other events that are happening in the city. We've got to do our CityCast Philly neighbor shout-outs. Pew, 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 pew. Welcome to Nicole, Todd, Kevin, James, and we just got Rebecca.
Woo.
Hey, y'all. Woo-woo.
Welcome.
You can join this group of new CityCast Philly neighbors by becoming a neighbor yourself. You can get a shout out on the show. You can also shout out your favorite business. Go to membership.citycast.fm.
I really love that when you're a neighbor, you can shout out your favorite business or nonprofit on the podcast. It's great to hear who our neighbors think are doing great work in Philly. I've gotten so many great recs so far from them.
All right, I want to say that Todd wants to shout out 2 great newish family-run neighborhood spots on the west side of South Street, La Serra and Saigon Grace Cafe. Go support them.
I'm adding it to my list.
And Francis wants to shout out all 4 Paul's rescues, rehabilitation, and sanctuary to animals in need and connects owners to local businesses to facilitate responsible animal owners.
Cool. I'm sure B would appreciate the shout out, my cat.
We love B. All right, Abby, thanks so much for joining me at the Fiddler Club this week, and have a good weekend.
Yeah, thanks, Trenae. You too.
That's all for today here on CityCast Philly. Whew, what a week. Our executive producer is Matt Katz. Our producers are Abby Fritz and Selena Say Reynolds. Our Hey Philly newsletter editors are Siani Colon, Natalia Aldana, and Selena Say Reynolds. And our host is me, Trenae Nuri. Music is by Philly's own Interminable, with additional music from all the kimonos. If you enjoyed this week of episodes, drop that link in the group chat, rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Philly. We'll be back Monday morning with a lot more news from around the city. Have a great weekend and be safe, y'all. Bye.